I can't hear your hands. So, Akmal Arifdjanov, Deputy General Director, Uztelecom. Shahab Vahabzadeh, a Chief Technology Officer from Iran. And we're going to be joined by Bekten Jandaev, the Administrative Director of the Kyrgyztelecom, in a few minutes. So let's give him a round of applause now, even though he's not with us yet. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, dear participants. Yes, you can take the headsets. Thank you. The first question is to Kazakhtelecom. Dear Nurlan, could you please tell us about the opportunities in Kazakhstan to become such a hub and ensure inter-regional and inter-country communications between the countries?
Добрый день, доброе утро всем.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present to you. I can show the presentation. Should I show the presentation?
Можно поставить нашу презентацию?
Can we have slides from Nurlan? We can. По процессу я скажу.
About the process, just a few words. Nurlan is gonna leave us and then he's gonna come back. But if you have any questions to Nurlan, you can go ahead and ask him this question so that he can get ready to answer them. Yes, thank you very much. And just an opinion, just want to express the opinion of what we're gonna do, and then I'm gonna leave and come back in about 40 or 50 minutes. And then if you ask the right questions, there are companies that historically impact the connectivity in the region structurally. And this, I don't know how to put it in the right words. So historically, this is a situation that in each republic of the Soviet Union had a large operator, Uztelecom, Kazakhtelecom, Kyrgyztelecom, which got investments from the state, which maintained the infrastructure that was left over from the Soviet Union, that was upgraded, developed, but it happened so that it impacts connectivity in the region. It has a global impact on it, and it's clear that over this period, over the period of independence of these countries, alternatives came up, and alternative operators emerged, and new communication channels emerged, and companies invested into lines and distribution grids and networks. And we all know about the development of mobile communications, but globally, it all had an impact. But globally, just a few words about yeah, just click on the next slide, please. I got it. Sorry, I couldn't hear what was said. So briefly, about this structure of, so that it is clear what the slides are all about. And there are large companies in the country, specifically Kazakhtelecom and in Kazakhstan. And it turns out that our company, apart from the fact that we provide end user services, we also play a key role in the overall connectivity in the region, in our country at least, and the region as well. Just briefly about the structure and the matrix of the traffic that we see, and we will show what the role we play in this matrix. And next, the activities that what we do to improve connectivity, to increase the number of direct connections. with international operators, with big tech companies, all those actions, just the physical connection, uplink to the operator, it's very little of that that's left, and we can improve quality parameters of the service. And Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything that the majority of users are using. And nonetheless, however hard we try to improve the connectivity and with service companies, we need to improve the quality access in the country. Just a few words about what we do, and we all know that there's a lot of media in the world, in the country, and historically, it still remained from a long time ago. There are regions that are still don't have high quality end user access, and where we use different technologies, well, apart from the optical cable. So that's briefly it. But frankly speaking, there's a lot of information given the fact that there are a lot of reporters. I'm going to focus on the main issues. Don't ignore the number of prefixes here, because the information is not very reliable. I did it on purpose. The number of prefixes that we receive from our downstreams in Kazakhstan and announce them in upstreams is much higher, and you can get an idea that we are a transiting country, and over 70 autonomous systems in Kazakhstan are behind us, and there are ASNs of our partners in the region. And if we can call it a peering, we're peering with regional operators, but in reality, this is commercial transit traffic, even though we're seeing more and more of not just commercial interactions becoming more relevant, but also technological interaction. You were right in saying that given the current what's going on in the world right now, you have to have technological links that don't depend on commercial activities, and that improves the connectivity during critical moments. And this slide, it makes it clear that we are an infrastructural element in our country and in the region, and we understand, and we're trying to interact with and work with our external uplinks so that we can minimize the work of autonomous systems, for which we are a transiting ASN. From the standpoint of traffic, and the infrastructure that I just showed uses and utilizes some traffic, which you see here on the screen. And it's clear that according to our calculations, the total traffic accounts for over 4 terabit, and our role is we filter out about 2, which is 50% of the traffic, and the rest, the rest goes through other operators. It's 2 TB a second. The transit traffic is about 1 TB, and everything else is utilized in Kazakhstan. So about 3 TB of internet is utilized in Kazakhstan by different access networks, including mobile networks. About half TB is utilized by mobile networks. The others are used by fixed networks. And just the statistics this is just external traffic. I'm going to talk about overall traffic in our networks. The domain uses about 2 TB of traffic, and there's a limitation, for example, in terms of total utilization of 700 gigabit. And but media has more users than the optics. Media has about 1 million clients, and this is open information. They're using about 700 MB of traffic, and the optics, the total number of users is 700,000, but they use about 200 TB. So this is the quality, how it is affected by technological limitations, and the rest are mobile networks, and they, given the fact that they are limited in terms of the number of bands, they utilize together about 1.5 TB. And we're looking forward to the launch of 5G, and we have to get ready for that, not just by providing we're getting additional bands from the government, but also we need to realize that this 5G is planned to, well, we plan to allocate C-band frequency, and the utilization is going to be much higher and much more significant. So we need to expand this throughput capacity, increase the number of uplinks, improve connectivity so that there is no negative impact on the infrastructure of the network operators. If we talk about transit, physical connect assembly of channels. So in the country, this information is already open. It's the country has about 4 TB, and we play our role in it. About 30% of traffic go through our networks, and the role of alternative operators in transit is much higher. It's about they use about 4 TB of traffic, and the infrastructure of the alternative operators in terms of transit is basic and a baseline, and the importance of its infrastructure, the quality, reliability, impact, the work of partner countries that we provide transit for their traffic for. This is as far as traffic is concerned. And now a few words about the impact of, and Nurlan has already mentioned that, it's the impact of external factors on reliability and sustainability of the internet in the region. And I will be talking about our country, but I believe that, and I think that this is a regional problem. Everybody knows that all the countries in Central Asia are strongly dependent on the physical infrastructure of our neighbors. And given the current situation, let's not talk about politics. I'm talking purely about technologies. Well, given what's going on right now, you have to have points where we can directly, where we can peer to directly, through which we can connect to international operators, regardless of the policy, and then peering with the large owners of content, of tech companies such as Apple, Netflix, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We know that organizing such a peering from the country is a very expensive thing, and every time ordering and every time an additional channel capacity, you have to pay for it. And so we chose a new tactics. It's not old, but we're rehabilitated it and revived it, and we're strengthening our point of presence in the regions where there is active presence of three of these operators, such as in Southeast Asia. And we're enrolling or launching a node in a point in Hong Kong and in one of the ISPs in Frankfurt. It's Interxion, everybody knows that. And we're working on installation of different devices. And then we plan to peer there and minimize the impact or dependence from transit operators. This is very complex work. There's a lot of information, and I'm just saying, I'm talking about the final architecture that we're assembling right now, either in Europe or in Southeast Asia. What is it going to give us? What is it going to give to the region or the country? It will give us an opportunity to, and a possibility to upscale, roll out connectivity to different resources. That'll give us a possibility to give or accept different routes through ISPs and optimize routing information. So be flexible, in other words, and not dependent on partners, uplink partners. So the question is, how do we do that physically? So how do we do that physically? Yes, we have several initiatives, and one is very well known to all, and you probably read it in media. The route which has been talked about for decades, or well, at least for 2 decades, that's the Caspian route, and we're actively working on that Caspian route. And yesterday we had a technical kickoff where we discussed details of cable laying, and now we're developing terms of reference. And if everything goes well, we will start the building or building the optical, the fiber optics, and well, it's really difficult to predict right now the year when it's going to be completed, but in the near future we will start putting the fiber optics, and this element is going to become this is a small segment of this route, but this segment, this is the missing link that will become the foundation for creation of a new technological route and physical route to European countries. We plan to reach Sofia either through the Black Sea or through Turkey, but that will be a new physical route to the ISP in Europe. From the standpoint, as I said, improving quality of connection and the statistics in terms of the media conditions, and I'm not hiding this fact, I'm just demonstrating everything. This is the smallest column. These are speed indicators. These are not ours. This is not our statistics. This is the statistics of a partner, UKLA, the well-known company. And if we look at the lowest column with 5 megabit speed, this is a column showing the capabilities of our technology. We launched a project on replacing this infrastructure, and this is a year-by-year breakdown. And we're gonna have about 200,000 ports a year, so over 1 million users will get completely new speeds, and so over 200,000 replacements say every year, and 100 MB is an average speed in the GPOF network, and this is a large domain on improvement. And as a domain is building and wireless networks, and mentioned that on a number of occasions already. For example, in rural areas with no sewage systems, where there are no poles where you could actually suspend the lines or cables and cable infrastructure, we're building wireless networks.
So, and we will build, 300 basic stations in different regions like Kazakhstan. So the medium average speed will be 30 megabits. So if we talk about infrastructure, if you look to the left slide, I mean, it's quite understandable that the infrastructure was built in the old days, and nobody could expect that we'll have to improve the quality of parameters like of fiber optics, and the spam length is to switch to 200 G lambda. But take into consideration of this change, we plan to upgrade and start using more effective lambda up to 400 or 80 megabytes. So it will require colossal changes in architecture, but we're switched into 200 G lambda. And currently the traffic which we are using right now matches this new infrastructure. As for improvement of access to internet in the regions, just recently we have completed, a big project on 1,500 kilometers of fiber optics to 1,500 villages in Kazakhstan. Yes, the access networks are not yet available, but at least mobile operators use this infrastructure for 4G networks and access to this mobile infrastructure of the remote areas residents. And our colleagues from other division are implementing the project on interacting with the local operators, where they can actually build the access networks in the villages and use this infrastructure. You can see like all this information in the internet. And the last slide I have is information on So besides, the connectivity between operators, we improve the connectivity with big tech companies. Services are the most of great demand in Kazakhstan. Here's the set of the programs. Companies with which you have direct peering. After we will have direct peering with Apple in future, direct peering with well, actually, with all companies from this fund companies, we will have direct connectivity. We will add Apple to that. We already have agreement with we plan to totally improve the quality. This is all I wanted to say. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, Nurlan, thank you very much.
Интересный план.
It's very good, interesting plans for the future, and
Строение новой инфраструктуры.
to build new infrastructure. And but as you said, the alternative is always good. The more capabilities we have, the better. And in terms of capabilities, our Uzbekistan can also say something about it, but they will make a presentation right now. Akmal, please. And Iran after that, they can actually provide connectivity of the region to other regions, with Middle East, with Caucasus, with Europe.
Акмал, можно вашу презентацию?
Akmal,
Can
can
we have
you,
Akmal's presentation?
Akmal's presentation, please?
Давайте чуть попозже, ладно? Чтобы
Just a little bit later, so we finish with presentations and then we can do the questions.
минут.
Just a second.
10 минут.
You have 10 minutes.
Хорошо. Окей.
5. Hello, dear friends. Hello to everyone. I'm very glad to welcome everybody here. I would like to thank Kazakhstani side for this event, which was organized. We can say it's a successful, good event. And my presentation will be in Russian. And yesterday I saw a lot of presentations. And I will try to connect my presentation with all the opinions which were shared yesterday. First slide, please. We start from the organizers. So we work with RIPE and NCC beginning from 2004. And those years, all we knew about them that they give us IP addresses, because in those days it was unreachable structure. And so we mainly did telecommunications and during last visit to Tashkent for Uzbekistan, it was very important that tribe came to Tashkent, and we discussed some issues, and I'm very glad that we have a very good, close contact with the RIPE, because we have certain issues. And as Van had mentioned yesterday, that with IPv4, we have problems with that. And the transfer to IPv6, that's the main task we have in front of us. And to resolve this issue, at this slide, you can see the main sort of points or things we lack. So we don't have some equipment support for some providers. We don't have enough content for IPv6 and the duration for the actual implementation of this transfer. So that is why you can see that from 2019, the number of ports of the wideband access, it's 4.5 million was created, and half of the million is on the mere infrastructure. So for 3 years, Uzbek Telecom is building optical lines of communication. And in 2023, we will switch from copper to optics. This is the task or objective for us. And why I am raising this issue on IPv4 to develop the content for small businesses development, with small businesses development. They have a lot of demand for IPv4. Would like to give some range, and you can see the number of the IP addresses which were allocated. That's not sufficient enough. Uztelecom has 7 AS numbers, and we with IPv4 we don't have a problem with IP addresses yet. And now the main area we would like to, which we suggest, is the voice interconnect for the local and international partners, access to international internet channels. We also have the traffic exchange network between the operators. Also, we are sort of providing renting of the network and also content delivery services. These are the main sort of services, so which Uztelecom is providing, the services providing by its network, through its network. So we have a data center. During the last conference, we had a presentation when we talked about 6 to 11 petabytes. It's the storage capacity for the data of data center. We have a certificate tier 3, and the client base is growing of the national content. And as for international connection or switch centers, for IPv4 and v6, we have 22 international channels provided to connect with the international operators. For IPv4, we have 12 channels which are still working. Local telecom operators connected through Kazakhtelecom. They have both IPv4 and v6 support for the local operators, and 7 operators, which include big providers, which are connected to our channels. Okay, next. We have UzIX. Unfortunately, yesterday, it was our fault that we didn't show it before, but we do actually utilize it. We do use it. So the peering networks. So local connected, we have 16 big operators which are connected to that. The traffic exchange happens there mainly. It's electronic government is using UZIX. Local traffic is provided to local operators through this exchange point. And currently, at this slide, you can see that we have the 4 gigabit capacity. And 24, it will be up to 1000 gigabit per second. So next slide is so my colleague from Kazakhtelecom, he was absolutely right saying that we have certain benefits of our neighbors, we have deficiencies and benefits at our neighboring countries, but to resolve this issue, you can see on the slide the sort of capabilities or capacities. The blue arrows show the international connection points, and the length of the communication lines, it's 27,000 kilometers. They are all they all have redundant sort of lines, and it's enclosed structure, and or it's a loop structure. And in the previous presentation, the speaker said that they consider Central Asia, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. And unfortunately, I disagree with such a representation. We have another neighbor, Afghanistan, and we should not sort of underlook it. For us to be able to exchange internet traffic, so we have to have interaction with all our neighbors. And Uztelecom does not overlook Afghanistan. We have certain communication channels with them, and we should also take them into consideration too. Currently, we do have presence points in Frankfurt, Hong Kong, Moscow, and we didn't have it in the past, but for about 2 years. So we're working on this issue. These points are present, the points are working, and we're actively working on those subject matters. So as for yesterday's Michelle Bogorjan Han, I really liked the presentation, and I wanted to mention that. Is he here? Yes, there he is. I also thought that I couldn't say it out loud, but he did say it out loud. So the free IXP is right, but all the operators try to make money on everything. So the issue of free IXP, it's a very good area for work, because connection to XP should be through XP should be free of charge, and interaction should be used to develop Central Asian region. And we should work on this issue. That's a very good thing. I was thinking about it. And also, there was a question discussed yesterday about taxation. It's another important issue, but it's not something which can stop or may stop the connectivity, process in Central Asian countries, because these are two parallel questions or issues. Of course, operators should not be hiding from taxes. So we are part of the text list of taxed organizations. That is why the taxation issue should be resolved, in parallel. So if you make money, you should pay taxes. But talking about virtual operators, it's very difficult for them to actually pay taxes. It's a painful issue. And we cannot make others resolve our problems. It shouldn't stop our interaction, and we should continue working on the regulatory documents, and that's a very important issue, and we should be working on it. Akmal, I'm really sorry. That's my personal opinion. That's okay. It's a very interesting map that you have shown us here. And Kazakhtelecom demonstrated the connecting points all over the region. And I have a question to our colleagues from Kyrgyztelecom and Qbic. I know that Qbic they have a presentation, and they also have a wonderful map on their telecommunication system and connectivity to other operators all over the region and the Middle East and Caucasus and other countries. Is it all possible to use Iranian capacities to actually provide or add to connectivity of this region to other regions. But to answer this question, let's think about it. Shahab, you also think about it. Thank you, Akmal. But prior to this, prior to actually discussing it, we will allow our remote speaker from, where is he? Is he in the States? Yes, from United States, James Cowie, who is, will be speaking on behalf of ISOC to make a very interesting presentation about the sort of history of telecommunication development in the region. And James, are you with us?
I am with you, if you can hear me.
Go ahead.
Okay. Very good. And I'll try to be brief. And I apologize for being remote. I would have liked to be there, but I'm on the east coast of the United States. It's about almost 11 p.m. But that's fine. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we see that. And please keep it in 15 minutes if possible. Thank you.
I shall. So I'm Jim Cowie. I used to work at Renesas. I worked with RIPE on these regional meetings and learned a lot over the years from local operators here. I've been away from internet measurement for several years, but I'm back this year as a volunteer resident advisor with the Internet Society. The remarks I make here will be mine and not the Internet Society's, and certainly not my daytime employer. Briefly, this is a very, very short version of a very long talk that I gave earlier this year about how the internet grew over the last 30 years in this region. And of course, the internet is based on having as many choices as possible from as many providers as possible cooperating. And Central Asia, because of geography, as has been noted in the last excellent talks, has the fewest choices among the 15 original Union republics. If we just take a look at Retten's cable map, we see the terrestrial to the north, we see the submarine cables to the south, and then we have this question of how to provide connectivity to the region when we're so far from the ocean. So quickly, what I did was a quick experiment. I used RIPE Atlas, and I measured DNS resolutions to 8888. This is Google's public DNS. And I wanted to find out which servers actually answer. And so the colored dots here show what country Google answers from when you use that public service. And Google is not special. Google Public DNS is not even their best service. But it does allow you to think about regions, watersheds of the internet, people who have the same connectivity because they go to the same place to get Google's DNS resolvers to function. So if we look roughly, we could divide maybe the Central Asian region into perhaps 5 potential paths to content markets, if we call Google hosting a content market. So we have green that goes to Google in Finland, blue goes to Google in Switzerland, brown goes to Google in Italy, in Milan, purple is India, and red is Hong Kong. So 5 different internet watersheds meeting here. Again, almost everybody in Central Asia who asks a question of Google Public DNS will get their answer from Finland today. At least that's what the map suggests. And it's because almost everybody in Central Asia has Russian transit, and Russian transit has Telia-Sonera transit, and Telia-Sonera transit ends up in Scandinavia. It's just kind of how it works. What are the other alternatives? Well, I love the fact that everybody's opening POPs in Hong Kong and that there is going to be connectivity and routing because this is a very plausible way to reduce latency. All of the points here in red, including Mongolia, if you ask a question of Google Public DNS, it ends up at the Hong Kong data center. Right now, of course, it doesn't work that way. If you actually trace route from Central
Сейчас это
Asia,
так не работает, если вы сейчас отследите маршрут от центральной Азии.
Sorry, I'm hearing. So right now, it doesn't quite work this way. If you trace route to the Hong Kong data center from here, it actually takes quite a long time because I think it's going around the world to get to Hong Kong. It's going to at least to Europe first. So this will change when there start to be transit paths available to bring Central Asian traffic towards Hong Kong. After China, you have to think about India. India would love to have more interaction with the digital economy of Central Asia, but they have geographic barriers. I love the fact that the gentleman from Uztelecom reminded us about Afghanistan. Afghanistan is in the way. Pakistan is in the way. It's very difficult to do direct traffic exchange with India to send traffic to, for example, Google in Mumbai. India would probably say that we should use the north-south transport corridor, which after all is an Iranian corridor. Iran it becomes a recurring theme here. Iran is the best way probably for several paths to market. Here's one that we've talked about, I think just now. These are the brown points that go to Milan in Italy. These are paths that get you to the Gulf. Once you're at the Gulf, you can jump on submarine cables that take you to the Mediterranean, and you're in Italy. That's very plausible. You can also, as in the wonderful Kazakhtelecom presentation, once the Tasim cable, or whatever we're calling it in this decade, gets built, and you can go across the Caspian Sea, then you can route traffic to the Caucasus cable system in Azerbaijan. And then you have choices. You have Turkish terrestrial routes. You have the Caucasus cable system across the Black Sea to Bulgaria. You end up going straight to Switzerland or wherever you need to go. And this one is very plausible. In fact, I think it's actually perhaps already in use. Not necessarily across the Caspian, but maybe around it. If we look here, this is the last 20 years of the top foreign provider in each country. And as time goes on, you see not too much change. It's still very Russian in every country, the largest foreign autonomous system. But Turkmenistan talks to Tata and talks to Turk Telecom, talks to Delta Telecom in Azerbaijan. So they have something going on, right? They have a route perhaps through Iran. And Azerbaijan, I would hold up, they're not Central Asia, they're Caucasus, but this is what Central Asian connectivity could start to look like in a couple of years when these routes get built, because Azerbaijan has the alternatives. They have the Russian connectivity, they have the cable connectivity to Bulgaria, they have the Turkish terrestrial routes, and they've used them all over time. So that's almost everything I have to say. I think it's fascinating what we've just heard in two presentations, and I can't wait for the next one. The one thing I wanted to point out is this is something we did at Renesas about 10 years ago. We made a very simple model about fragility and resilience and diversity. This is why we do peering and interconnection in country, not necessarily in foreign markets. We want to do peering and interconnection here in Central Asia because we increase the amount of diversity that we get. We said, let's measure all the autonomous systems in your country that we see in BGP immediately adjacent to somebody from somewhere else. And that number is protective because it implies that you cannot be disconnected if you have a large number of direct foreign adjacencies in routing. It's a simple model. It's not a great model, but over time, all economies, digital economies, grow this number. They get more and more and more interconnections with direct interconnections with foreign providers. And you can see that Kazakhstan is doing very well. 62 by my measure back in May, direct interconnection, at least in BGP. A couple of the countries here have numbers that are a little bit small. Most of them are going in the right direction. So that's it. I just wanted to say, it's fascinating for me to hear the operators show their maps and show the possibilities of international connection and show the plans for really building these connections so that people here in Central Asia can have diverse connectivity and can attract the large content providers to come here and build this as a digital economy ecosystem along with everybody else connected to the neighbors. So I'll stop there. But, thank you very much.
Thanks, James. Thanks, James. And I guess we can applaud you.
It's hard.
Very comprehensive presentation. And good charts. I guess from all these charts, maybe we can just put all these maps together and to find the best acting routes. We would just deploy the traffic there. Thank you. And some of the routes were also including Iran. Can we ask Shahab to just show some maps also from Iran so we can understand if it is possible? Just can we put the presentation from Qbic, Carla? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if you let us just have it for some 3-4 minutes, Shahab. And what I would suggest, maybe we can have another separate meeting when Nurlan comes so we can discuss it in details and just try to understand what, if you can do it now, something. Thank you, Shahab.
Good morning, everybody. This is Shahab from Qbic company. We are a Dubai-based company active in IP transit and data center services. We are not representing Iranians. We are not representing Iranian road, but we have active equipment and wavelengths from Iranian company TIC. We have route in Armenia, and we have a network globally to present our second-tier IP transit services to companies. But I'm going very fast from Qbic. We started our company in 2009. We activated the first IP transit through Iran in 2009. And right now, as we are talking in 2021, we have around 8 terabit per second capacity, which most of it is going to Iran and Iraq. We have capacities in Afghanistan. We have capacity in Qatar for Ooredoo. And we are using all neighbor countries of Iran for passing, to Europe and other countries. We are using Azerbaijan. We are using Armenia. We are using Qatar, Oman, and Turkey to pass to Europe. I'm going fast from these services. We have different services, IP transit, MPLS. We have our private public cloud, and we are running 2 ISPs, recently one in Iraq. We are building it with DECIX, and we have an old one from 2016 in Iran, Tehran ISP. We have our own global and regional POPs. We have POP in Muscat, Dubai, Tehran, Baghdad, Kabul, Baku, Yerevan, Sofia, and Frankfurt. These are our active POPs. We have, a good enough capacity in these countries as well. For example, our Baghdad to Yerevan capacity is around 1 terabit per second right now. I'm passing the internet exchange point because Nishal did a lot in this. And for IP transit, right now we have 2 terabit per second IP transit through Iran. Most of it, is through Qbic. But what about why I'm here? I'm here because of talking about the opportunities of IP transit through Iran. As James told in his presentation, we have some capacity through Turkmenistan, passing to Azerbaijan and Turkey, going to Europe. But what is missing here is the connectivity to the Gulf. I remember, I think around 1 year ago, we had a conversation with Hisham regarding, building this community and why he was, emphasizing to build this community because of the connectivity issue happening between CIS and other regions. Right now, what is missing here is connectivity to the Gulf part mostly, and alternative connectivity to Caucasus area, to Europe, which most of the capacity passing, all of the capacity passing Russia. Iran is the best option for CIS countries to, and I think the only option right now, because the cable for Azerbaijan is not ready, the Caucasus cable. Afghanistan is a disconnected country between regions. Mazar Sharif and Herat is not connected to each other very well. So Iran is the only option which we can use right now in Caucasus countries to reach Gulf and to have an alternative to Europe side. There are 3 ways to Europe. Turkmenistan can transit CIS countries through Azerbaijan, through Armenia, and through Turkey toward Europe. And there are different routes to, I mean, UAE, Oman, and Gulf countries, which is Omani borders of Iran and Qatari borders of Iran, which all of them are wet parts of connectivity. Last night I checked from Kazakhstan, from Almaty, the latency to Alibaba node in Dubai is around 220 millisecond, which is, I think, awful connectivity, and it needs to be tuned through different, I mean, connectivity stuffs. I'm here to discuss with our, CIS partners, Caucasus partners like Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan even, because the traffic coming from, east part, all of them is heading to Russia. And I think what is missing here is something that we can help them in activating the alternative routes and connectivity to Gulf. So I'm not, wasting your time, and I want to, go through, if there is a question and answers to that part.
It's quite interesting because in your speech you have mentioned not only the fiber optics, but also the access to the data in Dubai that is also should be considered when we think about the connectivity of the region. So actually, it is not only Europe. There are some good infrastructures, good content placed also in the region that can be accessed from Central Asia when we use these routes through Iran, and that's also good. And more alternatives we have, the better.
And you know that, Vahan, the problem is right now these days is the latency. Right now we have hyperscalers in Gulf region. AWS built their POP and they launched it 20 or 25 days ago. And right now their POP in Dubai is up and running. And suppose that there is a company who, hosting their, services in UAE, they will have not good visibility from Caucasus countries in case that we don't tune it up.
Great. So we have another participants that have also the connectivity with China. We're talking about Central Asia, we're talking about going to the Middle East, but we have also the Asia Pacific part of this global world. And this part can be also connected to the Central Asia. So Central Asia can be also a hub for all these connectivities. Welcome. So we have the administrative director of Kyrgyztelecom, and please let us know about your opportunities here, Bekten. Можно на русском? Что я перешел на английский-то?
I will probably switch to Russian. Good morning, dear colleagues. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting, thank Vahan for inviting me. And frankly speaking, I've learned a lot of new things yesterday during yesterday's sessions. And Shavkat made a joke over the colleagues from Kazakhtelecom that they have the direction of a department on peering with no furniture at all. We don't have any department, peering department at all, period. So the development of this area should become a paramount priority for our IT department. So when I'm back, I will come back to this issue and I will bring it up to them. As for, I do apologize for having no presentation, but I'll try to show you a geographic map for everyone present here in the room. Kyrgyzstan borders on Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and China. With all the neighboring countries, we have transboundary connections, at least 2. Specifically with Uztelecom, Kazakhtelecom, we have two active transboundary connections. And unfortunately, not always do we have a possibility to provide traffic through them. But we're always open. We don't always have traffic there, but we're always open for possibilities. And being a country, a landlocked country surrounded by giants, we are extremely interested in developing new alternative routes, and that's our concern. That's probably our utmost priority, and we welcome the Caspian route, and we're looking forward to having it built, and we will gladly participate in its development, and we're open to consider any other options with our involvement. So we're open. As for the situation in the country, we have the same problems as we saw in presentations from Kazakhtelecom and Uztelecom, but this is an extended transition from media to fiber optics, and we also have been using fiber optics for the last 4 years only, and territorially. Our territory is much smaller, but I should say that Kyrgyztelecom has about 10,000 kilometers of fiber optics. Similarly, we have circles, backup circles around the country, and the main connection is south-north, which has 4 backups and 2 on each side. And we also have one specific fiber optic connection with China. In this region, we call Ichtam, and there is a possibility, a prospect, and we have about 20 kilometers left until we reach the second planned connection to Torgard. And there will be a connection with the Uyghur Autonomous Region in China. And as I already mentioned, we're extremely interested in transit, in developing peering. Our peering is limited only to local in the country network, and for me it was a discovery that we could actually go out to the international market with our internal peering. So we are ready and will be happy to accept any proposals for cooperation. Thank you very much. And yesterday we had an in-depth discussion, and we were saying about them having very stable network specifically for the traffic, which is very important if we think about having this regional routes, this regional transit routes, back and forth, back and forth. Thank you very much. Our Tajik colleague Bakrom had a question. Yeah, just raise a question, Nurlan. We will pass it on to Nurlan, and once he's back, he will answer it. No, that's not going to work this way. Take your mic and come up here and raise your question. Or go back there or go out there.
Unless issue is up.
We're also recording this event, so you can ask the question. Turn on. My name is Bakron Nasirjamti, team about Tajikistan. My question is addressed to all the participants of the panel. What are the pace of development of IPv6 in each country, and what are the plans to localize traffic? Because you all mentioned that there are risks that the upper tier providers can be switched off and there may be no connection with them. Do you have any plans on development and maybe measures that you take to loop the traffic for neighboring countries, for the transit countries? Thank you. It's a very good question, and we should take time to think about this question. We'll come back to you with the answer. Thank you. Take your seat, and then we'll be back to you with the answer during the coffee break, and we will discuss these questions. Thank you very much. Your question. Thank you very much. So I think we gained a lot of information about opportunities, but for this, to digest this information and to make sure that this, what we discussed becomes opportunities that we can take, it requires active discussions. And we have a lot of internet operators that came from the region. But what's important, the important ones, the most important ones are the ones that can provide this interconnectivity for this subject matter, to connect Central Asia with the rest of the world. So I would like to ask you, take your opportunity during the coffee break and talk to each other, talk to Uztelecom, talk to Qbic, talk to Kyrgyztelecom, and Kazakhtelecom is going to be back here shortly, talk to Nurlan, and please agree on, to make sure, discuss with them the possibility of providing good interconnections and good access to the world, because the world needs us and we need the world. Thank you very much to all the presenters. And we're moving on to the next session. Thank you.